a little reminder, what you're going to be seeing today is part of the SME package. You can get it online. This is in Europe, 22 euros a month. I believe in the US, it's something like, it's maybe $19 a month, something like that. And you get an 18% discount if you pay annually. You can buy this all online. Okay, so starting off with the balanced scorecard. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at our, my own company's KPI portfolio, and you're going to see how we frame all of our KPIs into the balanced scorecard perspective framework. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the balanced scorecard, or you're curious about it and you're trying to get it implemented into your company, this is kind of an introduction to it, basically telling you you're going to start grouping all your activities into these four perspectives. You got the financial perspective, which is basically telling your shareholders how you're doing. So this is the perspective, how our shareholders view us. You have your client perspective, how your clients view you. You have your process perspective, which represents what we need to do to improve or excel. And then finally, you have your learning and growth perspective. How can we harness our ability to change and improve? And this is where you have a lot of your people-focused KPIs as well. Now, one of the key particularities of our product, Presto PDCA, is that you have this, what we call the three-dimensional balanced scorecard, because starting with this, at this layer, we also put in another two-tier layer in your KPIs. So basically, you then classify KPIs into these KSFs, categories, or key success factors. So once you group, you start group framing your KPIs through the balanced scorecard, you then take it to the next level and say, which KPIs are safety related, quality related, people or training related, delivery related, cost and profitability, and health and morale. Now, this is completely customizable. So these are the KSFs that my company uses. This is a hybrid, if you're familiar with SQPD from Lean Six Sigma. We like to split out the people related ones to keep training and morale completely outside, so that you can actually zoom into these topics at a quicker rate. So basically what we'll do now, we'll jump onto the dashboard. Here we are. Okay, so what you see now, we're on the Presto dashboard. Here we are. This is my company, and you can see these are our teams on the left. These are the people that are supporting those teams. These are the processes. I know I see a lot of new faces here, so I'm just spending a little bit of time to familiarize you with our dashboard. And of course, for those of you that don't know, what you can do, you can zoom into any team and start adding information. So here I'm looking at the business development team, got an explanation of what they do, the processes that they're working on, the roles that are on these teams, and who these roles are actually allocated to. So keeping that in mind, let's go to the business development team. We're going to go straight to this level. So what I'll do, I'm just going to pop up the org chart, and using this shortcut key, I go straight to business development. So as you know, or as you probably don't know if you're not a user, Presto allows you to give people hierarchical permissions. So if Juliana goes onto our dashboard, this is what she's going to see as the head of business development. And you can see here, we have a total of 30 people supporting this department. You have a total of 196 business processes. So we spoke a bit about the balanced scorecard. Here you can see our KPIs. We have our finance KPIs, customer KPIs, process KPIs, and people and growth KPIs. And what you have after that, that's our level 1. And then level 2 and level 3, you can actually see just by clicking on this. So you can see out of all my customer KPIs, I got 39 productivity related ones, 3 training, 1 risk and safety, and 1 quality KPI. So now what I'll do here, I'm going to apply that. And now you can actually see them like this. So if I wanted to see what are these 2 training and R&D KPIs on the strategic sales and marketing partner team, and you can see, open this up, and then you start getting to, you get to the lowest level of your KPI, where you get the level 2 of the KPI and the actual KPI itself. So what I'm going to do, let's take a look at all of the KPIs on this team. Just by clicking this button here, I can see all the KPIs. So these are all the KPIs that we have in the customer service team. So we have number of content-based publications. So we're tracking how many pieces of content we're creating on a monthly basis, how many social media following so we have, the number of events that we're participating in, client presentations and meetings, lead acquisition, number of clients and partners we're acquiring, number of outreach campaigns, both via emails and social media, sales funnel activity, number of hours worked on focused activities, asset efficiency maintenance, brand awareness, number of hours dedicated to R&D. That's a big one. Number of hours of training dedicated, number of incidents. So here's where we like to track our misunderstandings and miscommitments, and the number and the email percentage open rate. So that's a lot of stuff to see right at the beginning. So let's zoom into a couple of topics just to give you a better idea of how we work. So keeping that in mind, I mentioned at the beginning, this product is all about daily discipline. So daily discipline means to not only track performance-related KPIs, which we call lag KPIs, but also track daily lead KPIs. So for those of you that aren't familiar or need a bit of clarity, the difference between lead and lag KPIs, and this is where our solution allows you to really teach your company the difference here and capitalize on it. So lead KPIs, we like to say, are the cause of your success. So these are things that actually you can control, whereas lag KPIs are the effects of your actions. In other words, these are things that they happen, you look at them, and then you just say, are we happy or are we not happy? So if you're still a bit confused, I like to go over a few examples. So for example, lead KPI, the number of marketing campaigns that you launch on social media should have a direct correlation with the number of social media followers acquired. So in other words, you can't really control how many people follow your company, but you can control how many marketing campaigns you launch. And the direct correlation, the more you launch, the more social media followers you should be getting. Number two, number of safety audits performed would have a direct inverse correlation to the number of work accidents on the shop floor, which makes sense. The more safety audits you go through on the floor, the safer your company will be, less shop floor accidents you will have. Number three, number of sales-related training classes completed. So again, here we're talking about a lead KPI. The more training you do, you're expected, the better sales revenue your sales team should be putting out, which makes sense as long as you're pending that your sales classes are actually efficient. And then finally, the number of budget that you dedicate to R&D activities. So here you're controlling how much money you're spending on R&D should actually have a positive correlation to the number of new products that you can launch in the market. So these are some examples. I invite you to think about your own company on what the lead lag relationship is to the KPIs that you're really interested in. And it allows you to induce interesting conversations with your team so that you can then start saying, okay, what do we really want to start tracking in our daily and weekly environment that are going to help us get good results at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter. And I like to talk about this pyramid for a second. So if you think about team leaders, team leaders spend most of their day looking at lead KPIs. They have a checklist of things they have to do, and that the better they can do that, the better results they're going to have. Now, lag KPIs from a daily point of view at the team level, not exactly that important or relevant in most situations, but at a biweekly basis. And middle management, that's where you start to see lag KPIs start to become more important. Lead KPIs start to become less important. On a bi-weekly basis, you're looking at results, and then you're also saying, okay, these results, are they good? Are they not good? If they're not good, what lead KPIs can we push? Going back to the social media followers, if I look in 2 weeks and say, hey, how come in the last 2 weeks we only picked up X amount of followers? We were hoping to have X times 3. At this point in time, we might go to the lead KPIs and say, should we launch more social media campaigns? Should we do more webinars? And so on. But when you start thinking about senior management, you start thinking about that famous steering committee meeting, that famous monthly meeting where you're looking at lag KPIs. And a lot of times we're talking about mostly financial KPIs. There's the dog. Sorry about that. Talking about financial KPIs. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I have a new colleague, as you can hear him. So from a senior management point of view, we got our lag KPIs, which are focused on results, mostly focused on financials. But of course, senior management is also there to think about solutions. Solution means what lead metrics will help us improve our lag metrics. And of course, if you're an incorporated company, especially if you're a multinational, you're probably thinking about quarterly KPIs, the famous quarterly shot clock. And all they really care about are those numbers that you're putting on the balance sheet, and usually financial KPIs. So keeping that in mind, let's jump onto the dashboard again. Again, sorry for my colleague. And let's take a look. Let's jump back to the top of my dashboard. Let's take a look at our IT team. So our lag KPIs. Here we have, I'm going to remove this filter. And you can see this is our IT team. We have quite a few KPIs that we track them. So our IT team is our IT partner. We've been in business with them since 2017. They're our second IT partner that we've been working with. And if I take a look at the lag KPIs, just by clicking this, I can say, okay, we got lag KPIs. And if I want to take a look at the process KPIs, here we can see. So what do we manage from our on our IT team? Well, we like to track number of incidents, number of IT security procedures agreed, number of hours worked. So you can see we have all our employees tracked and on a individual KPI, number of uptime of our product, which is what you see right now, Presto. Our goal is obviously to have more than higher than 99.5% uptime, defects and rework, and number of days late on delivery. So when you see, when you look at one of these reports here, let's talk about number of incidents. Now, if you have service providers, especially IT-related ones, this I think is one of the most effective cost-saving KPI you can use, because it really helps you improve and have a meaningful relationship with your service provider. So in this case here, if I take a look, let's talk about connectivity issues over the past year, and you can see there are none, which is great. What about unplanned issues and disputes? So this is a very good KPI that allows you to just track on a daily basis if there were any misunderstandings or disputes. And you can see in the last 12 months, we had a total of 10 disputes. And if you want to know what are those disputes about, you can go to your Pareto chart, and you can see over the course of time, this is actually historical disputes. You can see 19% of our disputes with our IT provider are about staff availability. So, and actually this is a very long timeline here, but different colleagues, different work habits. Sometimes people are saying they're working in the morning, sometimes they the afternoon, sometimes they call in sick. And what I like to do is whenever somebody that's supposed to be working isn't working the way they're supposed to, I flag it as a dispute, and then we look at it later. Sometimes it's absolutely acceptable. Sometimes it's something that you want to explore with your service provider. What else do we have? Administrative disputes. In other words, holidays. Now, when you have service providers that work in other time zones, sometimes holidays slip by, national holidays. So what else? Terms, team availability, and plan to organize the workload. Sorry, again, the dog. Responsiveness and concentration. So this is a lot of times when you're training new employees, if you see that maybe somebody's not connected the way you want, you can flag a dispute or a misunderstanding as a responsiveness issue. Communication among team. How well did they collaborate? So how many times do you play traffic director for a group of people that should probably know how to solve a problem themselves? Again, I like to flag those things and put them on the table when we're talking about performance. The other good one here, this is more from a technical point of view, number of unexpected critical issues with the software. And this is great if you count on any service provider to for IT services. And you can see here, over the course of the year, we had 8 unexpected critical issues with the software provider. And if I take a look at what they're about, excessive slowness, we had a specific function that wasn't working 3 times it occurred, and we finally fixed it for good. And then legacy code performance and reliability. So we had one issue where something wasn't performing the way on some of the older code, and we had to flag that. So again, this is a great way to have meaningful discussions with your service providers and have them actually work with you to improve performance. And of course, it's also a better way to agree performance raises as well as bonuses that you're going to give, because if you don't do these type of things when you work with a service provider, there's a good chance they're going to every year hit you with a 5 or 10% price increase, and you might want to be in a position to say, well, I don't think it's exactly what you think it should be. And then these are the type of things you can show them to keep those things down. So let's talk a bit about lead KPIs. So if I jump to the lead KPIs. Yes, so I'm going to, here we have a bunch of different management reports I set up, and here's my daily lead KPI weekly report. So basically you can see here, no, excuse me, this is the weekly planning report. So this report here is what we use just to review once a week, going back to the famous mid-level management, trying to figure out what we're going to do next week. And when you start looking at things this way, what are we interested in? Outreach campaigns, client and partner servicing. In other words, we want to make sure that we're spending enough time with certain clients, number of content-based publications launched, lead acquisition, number of hours worked on focus activities, and number of hours dedicated to R&D. And these are all lead KPIs. So one thing I want to show you before I show you the final piece of the software, what you can do with this. So what you're looking at right now, you're actually just looking at the last result is what you see here, and here you have the historical records of everything that came in based on these effective dates here. So at this point in time, you might say, well, these colors don't really mean much to me. You know, these here just showing me the last results. So you can say instead, let's talk about the average for this report, for this KPI. Give me the average over the last let's say the last 5 weeks. So now you can see these colors change. And when you open this up again, this is the real number you're looking at. So here you can say this is a real red because I'm taking the average for the last 5 weeks. And you can see it is actually red. It's giving me 0.6286. And I'm trying to get a daily average of, and if I go into detail, here's where I got my thresholds. I can say I want to get a daily average of 7.5. So I just want to give you visibility into how these things work, so you can understand, so you can gauge if this is the type of solution you want to put in place. So now the last thing we'll talk about, as I mentioned to you, is our new KPI Connect two-way console bridge. And hold on a second, move something. So we got the KPI Input Console. So what you see here, this is the console where people can enter KPIs. Now, if you would like to connect KPIs to, if you would like some type of feed to go into the system onto your dashboard, we'll be happy to make that happen. You can put API feeds. If you don't have an API feed that we can connect to, but you do have some type of spreadsheet that already exists, a CSV file that comes out of some application you use, you can have CSV files uploaded, either do it yourself or you can have that automated as well. It's up to you. It depends on how much you want to put into making your dashboard automated. But if you're a small company, you don't have any of those type of integration opportunities. At the very least, now you can have people entering KPIs for you on a daily basis. And this is the KPI Connect bridge that they're going to be using. So you can see here, I got KPI per KPI, and I got the results column. We got the effective review date, how many overdue items still need update, when's the next KPI need to be put in, and a bunch of other things. We'll have a quick look at it. So just go into my widget dashboard here. Here's all the KPIs in my company. Some are updated for today, some aren't. As you can see, you scroll and you got the different types of KPIs. And what I'll do now, let's take a look at our productivity KPI report for today. So here's my management reports. And you can see a user can just come in here and enter results. What you can also do, you can select KPIs and say, you know what, give me a download in the CSV format of this KPI. Here's all my fields. So I'll say, just give me the owner of the KPI, the balanced scorecard perspective, the code, the subcode, the KPI name, and the result. And just by doing that, you can download a nice CSV file that immediately gives you the results of the KPI that we were looking at. Should be coming in a second. I didn't choose the best ones. Let me try some of these. Try that again. So now if I export to Excel, let's see what that looks like. This is a completely new feature, so even we're a bit, interesting. I'm not seeing any data. Okay, not working today. Just it was freshly launched. But anyway, so this is where KPIs are entered. And what you can also do, you can come to the detail panel. You can start scheduling your KPIs, set up your thresholds, use the ratio matrix to assign ownership. If it's a formula KPI, the formula gets put here. Here's where you assign issue causes for the Pareto chart, and here's where you have your historical records. So that's that. Another thing you can do, this is not ready yet, but it will be ready very soon. You can actually send a push email. You can do it individually, or you can send it at a group level. And when you send a push email, the system sends an email. Basically, what you see on this screen is embedded in an HTML email to whoever you're sending it to. And you'll probably send it to people that are in the ratio matrix. So you can remind people that they have a KPI that they either have to update, or you remind people that they have a KPI that's underperforming, or you're just reporting a KPI. So using that, and the last thing I'm going to show you how you can update these KPIs really easy. So here I'm on the dashboard. There's my colleague Ramesh. And let's just say Ramesh, using the ratio matrix, these are all the KPIs that Ramesh is responsible for. Now I could come in here and put any other colleague. I could put, let's talk about myself. So you can see there's me. What KPIs am I responsible for? You can see there they are. Now, if Ramesh logs in, now let's hope he's I logged in another window. There's Ramesh. When Ramesh logs in, he lands on this landing page. He doesn't actually see, he doesn't have visibility to this dashboard, but because he's a staff member, but we're saying we want him to be able to input KPIs to us. And when he lands here, he says, there's my KPIs. There's 22 that are overdue. And then he comes here and you can see these are just KPIs where he's in the ratio matrix. In fact, if I open up the details and go to the ratio matrix, you can see there he is. He's accountable for this KPI. So what he does now on a daily basis, if you assigned him daily KPIs, he's filling in these. So he's saying the percentage of his day he worked on the audit module for Presto, the percentage of the day he worked on the BPM module, on ideation, 0, on document management. Now, the percentage he worked on this one here, he's going to say, yeah, he worked 100% of his day here. And you can see that's already set up to say that's the target we're looking for. It's green. What about number of percentage of day worked on the website? He didn't work on a website. How about number of code deliveries into the production area? Today he updated something to our production area or our test. So he's going to put a number 1 in there. And we would probably ask him not only to put a 1, but to also put a comment in here so people can always go back and historically see what's behind that score. Dedicate 9 hours per day to bug fixes. He probably spent 2 hours today working on a bottleneck that we asked him to fix with another colleague. So you can see he puts a 2 in there. What about number of days over budgeted schedule? So when you have a project and you want to track if it goes over budget, you put a KPI like that in place. Number of hours dedicated to rework. There he didn't work on it. He didn't work on anything that was broken. He didn't work on any legacy code that was broken. Number of hours worked. His staff member Ashok today didn't work. This one here, number of hours worked. Deepa, his colleague, part-time, she worked 6.5 hours. Number of hours worked. There's Ramesh himself. He worked 9 hours. So again, I'm doing it for him, but he could actually do this himself. Number of hours dedicated to rework. So if you have somebody that's working on defects and you want to track those hours, you could have them put them in there. Number of reopened work orders, and then shifts lost due to unexpected occurrence. So this is a big one. Whenever somebody doesn't come in on a day they're supposed to come in, I track those. And then I always I review that statistic with the director every month, every year, to make sure we're getting the levels of service we asked for. So today, Deepa didn't call in sick, which is great, and neither did Ramesh. So you can see this is how your staff's updating their KPIs, and of course, you're getting those KPIs fed onto the dashboard. So I see we just made it to the half mark. So I want to say thank you for joining us. I see a bunch of questions in the chat room. I'm going to ask Chris now if there's anything he wants us to focus on.